What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another rendition of What's the Word, Dirty Bird. We do this every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I got a special guest with me tonight, Mr. TJ Jones from the State of the Saints podcast. Man, what's going on, Mr. TJ?
Hey, man, how you doing, Jew? I appreciate you for having me, man. Thank you.
Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on and giving us a little bit of your time. Look, we behind enemy lines. Saints, Falcons, you know how we do. We can't stand each other, but hey, I'm trying to get the inside scoop on the enemy. and I know you report on the Saints just like I report on the Falcons.
Right.
So I do want to give the fans, at least our Atlanta Falcons fans, an inside scoop. And I'm sure if some of your Saints fans join the stream, I can tell them a little bit about what the Falcons got going on. Training camp just kicked off. So, man, we got a couple things to talk about. We're going to also jump into some Q&A as well. But I always like to jump into the chat first and say what's up to everybody that's joining us tonight. We got Tony Wright in the building. He said, "What's poppin', Jew? Rise up." So you know that's one of the Falcons fans right there, one of the homies.
Yeah, right. Shouts out to
Teacher
you,
Red. That's the wife right there. What's going on, baby? I appreciate you in the back. We got YMF Jamal 05. What's going on, man? He said, thumbs down to the Saints. Hey, man, we're gonna keep it classy tonight. We're gonna keep it classy tonight.
Look, man, I completely understand, man. I know where I'm at. So, you know, I mean, if you was on the show, it'd be the same way. So I expect that, man. So, you know, whatever, you know, if you're repping the Falcons, man, come loud and proud, man. I ain't got no problem with that.
You know how us Falcons fans do. But I see a who that in the building. Who that? They're one of them Saints fans. What's going on, man?
Man, I appreciate you for being here, man. Thank you.
he said he here for the support. He ain't gonna allow you, all these Saints fans, these Falcons fans to gang up on him tonight.
Nah.
But we're gonna jump right into some questions here that I have for you tonight, and some topics that I have for you tonight. The first topic I kind of want to jump into, and I would be remiss for not jumping into this topic, is a Falcons fan and a Saints fan on the chat. Is Drew Brees, the Drew Brees effect. I kind of want to get your perspective on the whole Drew Brees. Personally, to me, he was a great leader, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. As much as I hate to say it, as him being a Saint, he's one of the greatest of all time. You know, all the records that he broke as far as passing yards, touchdowns. I hate to see he went out due to injury, cracked ribs, and so many injuries he had last season. But I want to kind of get the inside scoop from you, TJ, or what you think as far as are the Saints going to take a dip when it comes to the locker room and leadership? Because I know Drew Brees was one of those alpha males, one of those guys that everybody followed in the locker room. So I kind of want to get your take on that.
Well, you know, I mean, Drew Brees is going to be missed, you know, in New Orleans. I mean, he meant a lot to the team. You know, I was born and raised in New Orleans, and I can remember when the Saints weren't very good. You know, I tell people all the time, man, you know, I ain't one of them delusional Saints fans. Like I'm one of them Saints fans that gonna give you the real. If they suck, they suck. If they're good, I'm gonna tell you that they're good. They weren't very good when I was growing up, man. I'm 34 years old, and the Saints didn't give you much to cheer about, you know. And then 2006, this 6-foot-tall quarterback comes in, and he just changes the narrative about Saints football. I mean, he changes the way that people look at this football team, and he's going to be forever indebted. We're going to be forever indebted to him because of that, you know. And he is going to be missed, man, but time was up. You know what I'm saying? Time was up with Drew Brees. He couldn't make all the throws like he once did. Even though he was formidable out there, he was a little bit of a shell of himself, man. And, you know, it'll be sad, you know what I'm saying, to look at a guy, you know, go out there, try to do the best that they can, but, you know, they just don't have it anymore. And it was starting to get to that particular point. But I'm glad that he decided to retire. It looks like he's happy with his life outside of football. He's going to be joining the NBC desk, so I'm looking forward to seeing him as a broadcaster and a commentator for Notre Dame football. And now we just move forward, man, as a team. The Saints got some good leadership, and looking forward to seeing what those new leaders can do and help in some of the younger guys.
Most definitely, man. Like I said, man, Drew Brees was a class act. Definitely one of the greatest of all time. I got nothing but respect for him, even though he wore that black and gold. I got no respect for him. Super Bowl champion, definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah. Now I see a question in the chat. We were going to wait to get into the Q&A, but I guess we'll jump into it a little bit. Tony Wright, who's a Atlanta Falcons fan, he wants to know how is Jameis Winston progressing so far.
Man, shouts out to Tony, man. Tony drop by the state of the Saints every now and then, you know what I'm saying, to throw a little shade, man. So shouts out to Tony. But I think that he's progressing well, man. I mean, I'm looking at some of the footage and everything like that. It seems like he's got his head on straight. It looks like he done lost some weight and like he's making all the throws. But my problem has never been with Jameis Winston as a talent at quarterback. We know he can make all the throws. It's just the decision making. And you know, I'm very skittish when it comes to highlights. They're called highlights for a reason, right? You're not going to put your best, you're not going to put your worst moments on tape. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to put low lights. They're called highlights. But can you equate that to the field? You know, and that remains to be seen. But hopefully he can get the job done. Hopefully in a new, you know, in a new organization with a coach that's, you know, known for trying to put guys in place to succeed. Hopefully Jameis can become a better quarterback. I mean, I'm hoping that he does. I mean, the Saints, you know, future kind of depends on him as far as his success is concerned.
Right. Now, when it comes to the quarterback controversy that everybody says that exists, personally, I'm not one of those ones that believe that there is a controversy. I'm in the Jameis Winston camp when as far as being quarterback number one for the Saints. I've been saying it on my channel. I broke down the NFC South from my perspective. Right. I think that he's a more all-around quarterback than a guy like Taysom Hill. Where do you stand on that? Do you think that he's quarterback one, or do you think that Taysom Hill has a chance?
Well, I'm definitely a Jameis Winston supporter. It's nothing against Taysom Hill. I just feel like Jameis Winston is better at playing quarterback. You know, you got some members of the Who Dat Nation feel like Taysom is a better choice than Jameis. And I think it doesn't have a lot to do with Taysom as a quarterback. It's mostly the Lamar Jackson effect. They see the fact that Taysom Hill can run the football. He's fast. You know what I'm saying? He's strong. And they see that actually works out there in Baltimore. But when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson is literally a running back playing quarterback when he gets outside of that pocket. Taysom has straight line speed, and that's fine, you know, but Taysom Hill has been injured throughout his college career. He hasn't really been injured throughout his pro career. That's because he hasn't played that much under center. But I just think when it comes to, you know, making decisions, throwing the football down the field, reading drill progressions, I feel like Jameis Winston is a better quarterback. But, hey, I mean, Taysom, in my opinion, is playing with house money. I mean, because either way it goes, Taysom is going to see the field. Jameis doesn't have that luxury. If Jameis doesn't go out here and perform and get the starting quarterback position, he can be sitting on the bench until if something was to happen to Taysom. But at least with Taysom, you know, if Jameis becomes the starter, Taysom can still come in and be that Swiss Army knife. You know, he can run that RPO and do some of the plays that he did when Drew was there. So I think he's playing with house money. So it's best for him to give it everything that he has. And if it doesn't pan out, I mean, be a little bit upset because you want to be quarterback, but at the same time, still be happy that you get opportunity to play football.
Right. I completely agree with you. Like I said, quarterback one to me is Jameis Winston. When he was in Tampa Bay, I actually went, I think it was in 2016, the year we went to the Super Bowl. Right. I went to the first game of the season, and he lit us up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's something about a quarterback that's not afraid, even though they make bad decisions, just kind of like a Brett Favre. Brett Favre was a gunslinger where he thought he can make every throw. He knew he can make every throw. Right. And some games when those guys like that get hot, that first game against Jameis Winston, he lit us up. I mean, he was throwing the ball. He could have threw the ball through a keyhole that day. So, I mean, he one of those guys that you fear that he's fearless. He's one of those guys. He's not afraid to turn the ball over. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. Right. So he's definitely that quarterback that I think under the tutelage of a guy like Sean Payton, who's better at calling plays than a dirt cutter that was in Tampa Bay. Right. I think that he's going to be able to help mold Jameis Winston. I seen when he got in the games last year, I was really impressed. And I really think if he would have played in that playoff game a little bit more, I think that y'all could have did a little bit more and opened up the offense a little bit more. So I completely agree with you when it comes to Jameis Winston and the Taysom Hill situation. I think Taysom Hill is a football player. That's what I call him. I mean, he can do a lot of different things. And I think that they should just leave him as a football player. Let him do what he does best. He plays special teams. You can put him in the backfield. You can use him as an H-back, tight end. He can do everything. So that's how I would continue to use him if I were the Saints. Right. But I do want to jump back in the chat really quick because we had a few more people join us. The Nation is in the building. I seen he joined us a little bit late. So shout out to the Nation. What's going on, man?
Yeah, man. What's going on, man?
Just K Styles. who's also one of the bros from Atlanta Falcons Nation. So shout outs to Just K
Man,
Styles.
shouts
He
out to
says,
you, man.
TJ, how do you feel about y'all young gunners? Yeah, man. We're going to get into that Just K Styles in just a little bit here. We got Mr. Green in the chat. What's going on, man? He said,
Man,
hey,
what's going on,
TJ.
Damon?
Yeah, man. He in the building.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
He in
Thanks
here
for being here, Damien. Thank you, man.
Mr. Motivator in the building. What's going on, man? He's
going
always here supporting. He's an Atlanta Falcons fan as well. So shout outs to him. Mm-hmm. And Joseph, what's going on? Joseph Thornton. He said, what up, Jew? What's going on, man? We talking Saints and Falcons tonight, but we're going to take you guys questions in a few as well. It's a couple more questions I just want to jump into really quick. That's big for the Saints. And this is one of the big ones. Michael Thomas and that ankle injury. Last season, he battled that ankle injury pretty much all season. You could tell that he wasn't healthy. Everybody gets on him about that 0 catches in the playoff game. You could clearly see the man was injured. So I kind of want to get your perspective on how you think it's going to affect you guys' team, because I'm hearing that he may not be able to start the season. So do you think that you guys are going to get off to a slow start because of it, or how you think that that's going to all play out with that ankle injury?
Well, that's absolutely correct, man. And I do want to apologize because I know we were supposed to talk a little bit earlier, but I was actually on a call. They're actually having a live press conference right now with the New Orleans Saints. So I was actually listening on this conference call with Sean Payton, and Sean Payton was talking about the injury, and I found it very intriguing that Sean Payton it didn't seem like he was too happy about Michael Thomas. This whole surgery that he got. He got surgery in June, but a lot of people felt like he had this injury. I mean, dating back to last season, and he could have easily got it earlier in the off season. And Sean Payton said, "quote," I mean, he basically said like, if we're being honest, he could have gotten it earlier. So it don't seem like that Sean Payton is too happy about that. But as far as Michael Thomas, I mean, this is a huge blow, man. Michael Thomas is a key factor for the New Orleans Saints, and you definitely need all hands on deck because of the uncertainty at quarterback. I mean, we don't know what any of these quarterbacks are going to do, but it'll be helpful if you had a guy like Michael Thomas, who's a sure-handed receiver that a quarterback can count on to be where he needs to be in order for him to make plays. Not going to have him, according to everybody that I've talked to, he's going to be out till at least October. So it's going to be a couple weeks that we're not going to have him. It's unfortunate, but it's time for these young guys to step up. I mean, these are the opportunities that you live for. I mean, people are upset about Michael Thomas in the Who Dat Nation, but this is a great opportunity for a young guy to step up and get some reps and see the field. So me as a fan and me as a reporter of the New Orleans Saints, I mean, look, I can't sit around here and whine and boo-hoo about something that I have absolutely no control over. These guys got to go out here and perform. And as far as Michael Thomas is concerned, I was kind of on the fence about my thoughts about, his surgery and everything like that. I was coming up with different scenarios, but just listening to Sean Payton, and I know he's a team first type coach, for him to come out here and speak that candid about him getting surgery too late instead of too early speaks volumes. So I'm gonna just say it, man. Michael Thomas has to do better. He had to do better, and he has to look at the team. Counts on him to be that top player, and I kind of feel like he dropped the ball. I mean, he has to come up with one hell of an excuse to come up with, to excuse why he decided to get surgery so late in the season, before the season, I should say.
Most definitely, man. I completely agree. I kind of want to know, who do you think can actually fill his shoes? Because I don't really follow the Saints. I know you guys lost Manuel Sanders, who I was a huge fan of, because I felt like you guys have never really had that number 2. Here in the Falcons, we always have a slew of receivers between Julio, Calvin, Roddy White, Julio. To me, he never really has had that solid number 2 guy. Even when we had Mohamed Sanu, I figured he was a pretty good number 2. But to me, you got Traquan Smith, but I don't really know, other than him, who's somebody else on the Saints where you can give us a little, backdrop of the Saints of who's a guy that we need to look out for, maybe in training camp right now, or maybe a guy that y'all drafted or picked up in free agency.
Well, one guy is his name is Marquez Callaway. He's a second-year player out of the University of Tennessee. He had a pretty a good season last year. He was a leading receiver in a couple of games. He was a guy that mostly contributed on special teams. When Deontay Harris was down, he came in and returned some kicks. He also was like a key player on special teams, recovering a couple onside kicks and stuff like that. I mean, he did a really good job with that. That's a guy that we're looking out for. Another guy is Deontay Harris, man, going into year 3. He really stepped out in year 2. He had a couple little injury issues. He's a little bit of a smaller guy, kind of a scat back type guy, but he's a guy that could get open, you know what I'm saying, with his elusiveness and his speed. Then also you have the 7th-round pick, Quan Baker, out of University of South Alabama. He's a guy that has that same similar build to that of a Michael Thomas. He has that skill set similar to that of maybe, like a Deebo Samuels, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
South Alabama actually used him more in the slot, especially in red zone situations with those wide receiver screens, looking for him to get inside the end zone, right by the goal line. And he also helped out on special teams. So I can see him being like that 3rd down guy, that can come in. Saints need a couple of yards. He can get out there and fight for those first downs.
Okay, most definitely. Now, I do want to jump back in the chat really quick. See Mad Mike Sports in the building. That's also Atlanta Falcons Nation. Also,
what's going on, man?
A content creator of our Atlanta Falcons as well. He called himself the Great One, or the Mad Scientist is what we call him. Here on this side in Atlanta Falcons Nation. And he was getting on you in the chat. He was saying, you need some black and red in your life, son. You said earlier. But hey, look, he repping his Saints, man, and I got nothing but respect for him to come in here, look behind enemy lines, and give us the blueprint to beat the Saints this season. Hopefully we can fit with y'all, because y'all have owned the division the last 3 years. Y'all division champs for the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken.
4. I think it's like they won it 4 straight times.
4 straight years. So hey, look, it's time for the Falcons to get back on top of this division, but we're gonna get into that a little bit later. But let's see here. I seen a question actually in the chat for me. And I think it was one of the Saints fans. He says, "Hey, Jew, you think Calvin Ridley is ready to take the number 1 wide receiver role?" I definitely think Calvin's ready. I mean, last year, one great thing about Julio's injury, which I hate injuries, but one good thing that he missed those 8 games, we got to see what Calvin Ridley can do as that number 1 guy. I mean, last year he had, I think, 7 or 8 games where he had over 100 yards receiving, 1,300 yards receiving. So I definitely think that Calvin Ridley's ready to take over that number 1 spot. And as I've been saying here on my channel, and we've been saying on Atlanta Falcons Nation as well, at this point, Calvin Ridley's playing for the bag. So being that he's on that 5th-year option, we picked up his 5th-year option. This year, he's looking for that big contract next season. So I definitely think that Calvin Ridley's going to have a big season. He led our team in receiving last year with over 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns last year. And to me, I thought he should have been an actual a Pro Bowler, even though they end up going to the rookie out there in Minnesota, which he had a really good season as well. I think Calvin Ridley was one of those guys that was snubbed for the Pro Bowl last year. And I do think he's going to break out this year. Now that Julio's gone, I do think that he'll be a guy that can definitely succeed and be that number 1 wide receiver for our team.
Yeah.
But I do want to I see Tony right here. He says AJ Green came back 1 game and immediately had to shut it down for the season after 1 game, but hopefully Michael Thomas will be 100% when he returns. I mean, at this point, I don't think Michael Thomas is going to come back early. I mean, when you have surgery, I don't see him coming back early. I think he's going to wait till he's completely healthy. Now, I don't know, that why he waited so long to have that surgery. If he could have had it early, I don't know what that's about. And I've been hearing some rumors and rumblings. I don't know if these are haters. TJ, you let me know. Do you think that Mike Thomas is going to be around for the Saints the next couple seasons? Because I've been hearing some rumblings that maybe Michael Thomas might be traded. Is that true, or is those just rumors, fake news?
Well, there's definitely fake news. As far as I'm concerned, any reporter that I talked to, they said that nobody is thinking about moving Michael Thomas. Look, Michael Thomas is a little bit different, man. I mean, I know they had some stories came out talking about him fighting a teammate and all that kind of stuff, but he's a guy that's really, passionate about the position. And I don't see him moving, to get traded, because first and foremost, you're not going to do it this year because he'll cost $18 million against the cap. So that's just not going to happen. I think the Saints are happy with Michael Thomas. I think they're happy with the production that he gives them. But this situation, I mean, I'm waiting for Michael Thomas to come out to explain himself, because this isn't a good look for Sean Payton to come out and say some of the things that he said about him. But I don't think there's no validity to him being traded at all. No, I don't.
I completely agree with you. I don't see it, especially now that you mentioned in his contract. That was something that when Julio Jones was kind of on the trading block and everybody was talking about it every year, I'm like, with that contract, I didn't see Julio moving on. And the only reason we could let him go over to Tennessee is because they were willing to take on pretty much most of that contract. So I agree with you. I don't see Michael Thomas going anywhere anytime soon. But I wanted to ask you, because I know that you're the insider and you all over that New Orleans Saints, talking, reporting. So wanted to find out. I figured it was just hate, because every year the media was saying that Julio Jones was going to get traded. And if you go look at my channel, I don't delete none of my videos. I came out and was like, when they were first talking about Julio wanting to be traded, I was like, this got to be fake news. Because every season at the end of the year, the Falcons didn't have a winning season. It was Julio's going to be traded, or Julio wants out. Matt Ryan's got a noodle arm. It's all these clickbait type videos. So
Joe, I'm not a real big fan of all that kind of stuff, man. I feel like media needs to have a level of integrity. If I don't know something, I'm gonna tell the members and the followers of the show that I don't know. I'm not trying to make myself seem like I'm just the go-to guy if I don't know. But you have a lot of guys that feel like, they follow the blueprint of some of these shock jocks out here who just try to give you these these highlights, or these, these eye-popping topics, in order for you to gravitate to them. I fall more in the category of looking at some of the stuff out here when it comes to the articles and breaking it down. I feel like anybody that's out here just trying to clickbait anybody, it might work for a second, but it's eventually people are going to realize that you're not legit and you're going to lose that. So
I'm the same way here on my channel. Like, we say the stats, the facts, and the truth. That's what we say at Atlanta Falcons Nation. We're about giving you the facts. It ain't about the glitz and the glamour. We're going to give you the stats and, what's in black and white. But Mad Mike has a quick question for you about Marcus Davenport, which is a great question. He's asking, do you believe is Marcus Davenport a bust? Is he a bust?
No, I think it's too early to say that he actually a bust. You can say that he leaves a lot to be desired. Anytime you got a guy who's physically gifted like Marcus Davenport, you want him to go out there and show it. I mean, this guy could easily be one of those freak of nature type defensive ends, like the Javon Curse, or more recently a Jadeveon Clowney type. But the thing about it is he's too much like Jadeveon Clowney, because he's talented, but he's always hurt. But I just think that Marcus Davenport, first off, he needs to stop focusing on the white noise around him. I feel like he's one of those guys coming from a small University of Texas at San Antonio. He's allowed some of those situations, to get into his head. People talking about him, saying these different things. I think he did the right thing, getting yourself off social media, focusing on your mental health and getting your mental state in order for you to go out here and play. I think if he does that, he'll be just fine. Last season, I mean, he took steps back, and I think it had a lot to do with the whispers. Sometimes, it's good for a guy to remove themselves from social media, from some of these outlets that they have all this noise around you. And when you remove yourself, you clear your mind and you figure out the type of person that you are. So this is the deciding season, for a lot of members of the Who Dat Nation, and also for Marcus Davenport, man. This season, to me, is going to decide who Marcus Davenport is as a professional.
And I completely agree with you. He sounds like a Takk McKinley. Like when we had Takk McKinley, we couldn't keep him off social media. When we drafted him, I don't know if you watched the NFL draft when we drafted Takk McKinley. He had the picture of his grandmother, and it was all this: get after the quarterback, get after the quarterback. Right. And he didn't do much of nothing. That's all he was all talk, man. So I completely agree with you. I mean, he was athletically gifted, but he was always injured. He had a hip injury, I believe it was, but he had so many different litany of injuries, and he was one of those guys that just wouldn't stay off social media. Couldn't keep his head clear. Like I said, he was gifted, had talent, but he just wasn't willing to grind and put in the work, to get to that level. So I hope, Marcus Davenport takes a note from Tat McKinley and, actually proves himself this year, because Tat McKinley was a first round pick for us. And why we took him over TJ Watt, I still don't know, but that's a subject for another day. But I see a question in the chat here. It says, Drew, what does the Falcons pass rush look like? I'm hoping that the Atlanta Falcons this year can get after the quarterback. We've struggled with that for the last 3-4 years. Dean Pease is the defensive coordinator now here for our Atlanta Falcons, and he's one of those guys where he believes in blitzing from everywhere. He believes in getting the quarterback off the spot. He believes that heating up the quarterback, and that's something that I love, because when Dan Quinn was here, as you well know, Mr. TJ, he's one of those guys that would sit back in the cover three. We've seen teams year after year say, "Oh, we knew what the Falcons were going to do. We were going to drop back in the cover three," and pretty much it was a vanilla defense. So I definitely think that this season, Dean Pease is going to be one of those coaches that's going to help that pass rush. If we're not getting home with 4, we can bring pressure. We can bring pressure from other places, whether it's linebackers, whether it's safeties or corners coming off the edge. So I definitely hope that the pass rush improves. Dante Fowler is one of those guys this season that is playing for a contract this year. He actually took a pay cut when the new regime came over, when Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith came in. So I hope that Dante Fowler, returns back to the ways of the LA Ram days prior to us getting him, when he played with Aaron Donald and played with those talented guys over there. I really think that last year with COVID and the injury, he had a high ankle sprain, similar to a Michael Thomas situation. So I'm hoping that this year we see an improvement, but they did bring in a lot of young guys. We have a lot of young guys that are capable. For whatever reason, Dan Quinn didn't believe in giving guys a shot. I mean, we stuck with Vic Beasley. We stuck with Tat McKinley. We got guys like John Kaminsky. We got Jacob Tuioti Mariner. We got a lot of young guys. We drafted a guy out of Notre Dame, Ogundeji, who's really long, 6'5", 260 plus pounds. And he's a guy that has the athletic ability. I don't know what he's going to be this year, because I always say, this is just what I say, TJ, here on my channel. I believe that you have to give players at least 3 years to try to polish guys. So coming out of college, the NFL is a whole nother level. I don't care what you did in college. And a guy that you spoke of earlier, Jadeveon Clowney, is the prime example. He was all over ESPN for that one tackle he made in that bowl game against that running back in the backfield.
Yeah, Denard Robinson again in Miami. Robinson.
I don't think that he's had 10 sacks in the season since he's been in the league, Jadeveon Clowney. So it was pretty much all hype. So I say the wait and see approach is what we say at Atlanta Falcons Nation. That's why I say on my channel, I'm not too sure what the pass rush is going to look like. But one thing that I can respect about Dean Pease is if we're not getting home with 4, he's bringing 5 and 6. Like, he's not going to just sit back and say, well, let's just rotate 4 guys in here and see if we can get there with 4 and drop everybody else in the coverage. No, he's going to come get you. So we ain't getting home with 4. He say, look, I'm sending a corner, I'm sending a safety, and he's good at disguising those blitzes. And I feel like last year and with our Falcons defense over the last couple years with Dan Quinn, it was just too vanilla. Teams knew exactly what we were going to do, and we made it too easy for these quarterbacks to pick us apart. And at this point, the quarterbacks are too accurate, and the wide receivers are too good now. Well, with the rules the way that they are. So I definitely think that the pass rush should improve, but we just got to wait and see. I'm not too sure of who's going to step up other than Dante Fowler. You know what Grady Jarrett's going to give you. He gives you that 8 to 10 sacks every year. You know pretty much what he's going to give you and stopping the run. But other than those 2 guys, the other guys that we have are really not proven. And that's the reason why I want a guy like Justin Houston that's still sitting there on free agency. And I would like the Falcons to just go ahead and bring him in just to come in and help tutor these young guys and help these young guys come along. Because like I said, the guys we brought in this year, we don't know what those guys are. And it's going to take those guys time to, be polished. So I don't know what you think about that. If you want to tackle that too, TJ, or what you feel about our pass rush, or anything that I stated, if you want to chime in on that.
I mean, I think y'all have some talented pass rushers. I mean, Grady Jarrett is a person that stands out. Dante Fowler is somebody that stands out as well. But I just think that the Falcons have to do a better job at getting to the quarterback. Over the last couple of years, I think they give quarterbacks a way too much time to read through their progressions. And if you don't have an above average, I mean, you can't be dealing with an average secondary. I mean, those guys are going to get picked apart. So to have somebody up front, that can get to the quarterback on a consistent basis, I think that it will, pay dividends to them. So, I mean, you all needed a new regime. I mean, you all got some new coaches there. They're going to bring in a new culture. And I think it was about that time, man. Anytime, you have a franchise that's like on the cusp of, being talented, getting to the playoffs, have the players to get over that hump. However, the coaching staff is not getting them there. It's best for you to go look from the outside looking in, and try to find pieces in place to help your team be successful. So hopefully these guys can come in and change the culture of the Falcons, that, a culture that needed to get changed, especially over the last couple of years, man.
Most definitely, yeah, man. I completely agree. I mean, I think it was time. The players at this point, like I believe once the players stop believing in the coach, and you can see the players didn't give up. Like I hate when people say that the players have given up on the. I'm like, look, man, football is too dangerous of a sport for a player to just give up out there on the field unless you're trying to, get seriously injured. Right. I don't really feel like the players gave up on Dan Quinn. I just believe they didn't feel like he was putting them in the best positions to succeed. And when you see a coach not putting you in positions to succeed, and you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's called insanity. So, I mean, at this point, I think it was time to just go ahead, clean house. Like I didn't want Raheem Morris. A lot of people were talking about Raheem Morris possibly being, the head coach. And I was just like, no. Anybody that's a Dan Quinn disciple, anybody on that coaching staff, I pretty much wanted us to clean house and bring in a whole new regime. Like you said, change the whole culture. Right. And for what I'm seeing out of Arthur Smith, who's the new head coach here, coming over from Tennessee, he's a guy that's holding these guys accountable. Right. I mean, at practice, he's like, if you drop a pass, if you jump off sides, you're going to run. And I like that. I mean, I told him he reminds me of Coach Boone on Remember the Titans, where, look, water's for cowards. If you drop a pass, if you fumble my football, you're going to run. So I just love that mentality that nobody's above a team. I don't care. And I really think that that's one of the main reasons Julio kind of wanted out, because Julio Jones was used to Dan Quinn allowing him not to practice and allowing the veterans and his star players to kind of do what they wanted to do, because Dan Quinn was one of those players coaches. So I'm glad that we kind of changing the culture around here in Atlanta. And I definitely think that these guys are going to, they had a boat going in the right direction. So hopefully we can, this season, I seen somebody asking right here, do you believe the Falcons go over 500? And we're going to talk record predictions. So we might as well go ahead, since they're asking about records. I definitely think that the Falcons going to be over 500 this year. I say that the Falcons was going to go, I think 12 and it's 17 games, right? 17 games now. 17. I think I said like 12-5, if I'm not mistaken, or 12-4, something like that. Okay. I said we're not losing, or we're winning at least 11 games. Just looking at our schedule. Now that's just me speaking. Last year I said we were going 12-4. We went 4-12. So that just goes to show you that predictions really mean nothing. You still got to go out there and play that schedule. And on paper, sometimes that schedule look a lot easier until you get out there on the field on Sundays. So I kind of want to hear what you feel about record predictions for the Saints this year. I say, to me, the cream of the crop is the Buccaneers, because they're the champions. They're the Super Bowl champions, and everything goes through Tampa at this point. But tell me how you feel about the Saints. If you have a record prediction you want to throw out there.
Well, before I give you my prediction, I want to go back to something about Dan Quinn. People talk about, I heard you say that he was a player's coach. I mean, you think about where he came from in Seattle. I mean, the biggest player coach of all time is Pete Carroll, from his days at USC. I mean, he's been a player coach, and that was kind of the culture that Dan Quinn was used to. So when he actually became a head coach, he tried to bring that along. And that's what most assistant coaches do. I mean, we seen guys like Matt Patricia. He tried to do the same thing with Detroit, trying to turn them into New England, trying to do the so-called Patriot way. So I'm not going to knock him for that. I just think that sometimes, you have to come to grips and say, I'm not that coach. You can add a couple things to yourself that you got from that coach, like something that he instilled inside of you. But I think that it needs to be more of you, not so much of that other coach, because that's when I feel like you lose the team, when guys don't feel like you're being authentic and genuine and real. They can smell a phony from a mile away. But as far as the predictions are concerned, the predictions that I have the Saints. I have the Saints going 11-6. I'm me personally, man. I don't care about division titles this year. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest, and I've said this on the State of the Saints podcast. Like, division titles don't mean anything to me right now. The only thing I care about is the Saints actually making the playoffs and making a run. Because the Saints over the last 4 years have been in every high position spot. They've been in the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed, and the number 3 seed. And everything just continuously happens the same way. They get put out of the playoffs. Don't matter if they're playing at home. Don't matter if they're playing on the road. So I don't care about that. What I do care about is them, making strides and making that transition post Drew Brees. Now, I do think that Sean Payton is a really good coach. A lot of members of the Who Dat Nation, they are not that confident this season, of course, with the Michael Thomas injury and the young wide receivers and so many of the question marks. But I really just feel like if the Saints just so happen to make it to the playoffs, I think that Sean Payton should win Coach of the Year, because you have yourself a coach that has won, and in spite of the fact that he doesn't have his all-time great quarterback. And when you have a relationship with an all-time great quarterback along with a really good coach, they can join those two guys together. And when a guy starts to win and find success outside of that coach or outside of that player, that's when people start to appreciate them. Like Tom Brady, winning the Super Bowl with Tampa. People now can say, okay, Tom, went out there and he won without Belichick. Trust and believe Belichick wants to win without Tom in order for him to get his own validation. So Sean Payton, if he wants to really be validated and looked at as really one of the all-time great coaches, he has to lead the Saints to the playoffs post Drew Brees. But I have them going 11-6. I just think that they're a really good football team. They're young. They're going to be, they're going to lose some games. Drew Brees is going to be a factor, him not being there. But I do think that they have solid leadership that's going to be able to weather the storm and keep some of these young guys focused throughout the totality of the season.
Most definitely, man. And Dre says, Tony writes, okay, thank you so much for asking both of my questions. Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, man, I had TJay on because I know he's really knowledgeable, not just about the Saints, but in football in general. And I appreciate him coming on. So you guys definitely go. I just want to put a quick plug in there. Y'all go over to the State of the Saints podcast. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit that like button on this actual video, please hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that share button. And we want this to get the algorithm going. So definitely hit that like and subscribe button for your boys. Hit that share button for your boy. But it was a question that we missed that was, I don't know if I can find it, but I'll go ahead and ask it anyway. It was somebody asking about Zach Bond for the Saints.
Right.
He was a guy that I really liked coming out of the draft out of Wisconsin. He kind of put me in the mind of a TJ Watt because, he played there at Wisconsin as well. That's like an outside linebacker.
Right.
What do you feel about Zach Bond? I didn't see a lot of him last year. I forgot he was a New Orleans Saint until I actually looked at you guys' roster this year. And I was like, oh, they drafted Zach Bond. But I didn't see a lot out of him last year. So how's he progressing?
Well, only time will tell. Zach Bond last season really didn't see the field. He mostly played on special teams. I'm willing to give some of these rookies from last year a mulligan. They get drafted or they become undrafted rookies during COVID. Something that's unprecedented. You have no OTAs, you have no mini camp, you have no rookie mini camp or anything like that. And you're basically learning to become a professional via social media or via Zoom. And that's not a way to learn. All right. I know people are kind of, roll their eyes at preseason, but these guys actually need preseason. Not so much about them knowing how to play football. That's something that you don't forget how to do. But to actually get those butterflies out of your stomach. Like just think about this, man. I can just think about a rookie for the New Orleans Saints or a rookie for the Atlanta Falcons. You're going up against Russell Wilson in week 1 last season. For the Saints, you're going up against Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think a few of those preseason games can get those jitters out of those guys, first. And also just some of those reps going up against other competition. So guys had to develop. But back to Zach Bond, I just feel like what the Saints are asking him to do, he didn't do at Wisconsin. He was more of a hands-on-the-ground type linebacker. He was a guy they allowed to rush the quarterback. The difference between he and TJay Watt was also asked to guard the tight ends and running backs. Zach Bond, not so much. Zach Bond was one of those pass rushing type linebackers. And I think the Saints are what they're trying to do this season. They're trying to transition him to weak side linebacker. But there's a problem. Now you have the rookie Pete Warner out of Ohio State, a guy that was a 3-year starter, a guy that started out on special teams. He was a 3-year captain at Ohio State, and he had a really good percentage at guarding running backs and also tight ends. So Zach Bond, to me, is probably going to be the odd man out, especially if the Saints can work out a deal with Quan Alexander. I mean, he visited the Saints last week, and the Saints really like him. He did a really good job via trade last season from the 49ers coming to the Saints. He really helped Mario Davis. So I don't know what Zach Bond can possibly do. Maybe be in that rotation. Maybe go back on special teams since the Saints actually lost some guys, a guy like Craig Robinson, a leader on the special teams. So Zach Bond really is going to have to put forward a really good effort going into preseason. Well, not going into preseason, but training camp if he's going to make the field. Now, he worked out with TJay and TJay Watt in the offseason. I mean, that's a good start, but you're not those guys. You know what I'm saying? Right. Those guys are going to be starters. Right. JJ in Arizona, TJay in Pittsburgh. But Zach Bond is going to have to prove himself, man, and it's going to be an uphill battle. I'm not going to lie about that.
Most definitely. And another player I didn't touch on with you guys over there in with the Saints is David Onyemata. I think they said he got suspended. He's a guy that I think is really underrated. Like I said, I'm a football junkie, and for all the Atlanta Falcons fans in the chat that follow me, they pretty much know that I believe that everything starts up front in the trenches on the defensive line and on the offensive line. Yes. And to me, David Onyemata is one of those guys that wreaks havoc every time we play the Saints.
Right.
Him and when you guys had Shelvin Rankins when he's healthy, those two guys are guys that wreak havoc up front, and they make those guys on the outside, like Jordan on the outside that's coming off the edge. They make those guys' job a lot easier. So, and Trey Hendrickson, another guy who broke out last season for you guys. And was able to get that big contract with the Bengals. Right. So what do you feel about David Onyemata and his suspension? And do you think that you guys always have big bodies up front? That's something that I love about the Saints. And y'all big on the defensive line. Y'all always have a stout defensive line. Always good against the run. And that's something that I'm big on. I believe you stop the run first and then you get after the passer. So what do you feel about that whole David Onyemata situation?
It's going to hurt, man. You know, like I say, I'm not one of them Saints fans that's not going to be honest with anybody. You know, I don't have the rose-colored glasses. It's going to hurt. David Onyemata over the last couple of years has developed into being a really good interior lineman. That was the reason why Sheldon Rankins is no longer with the Saints, and the Saints looked at him as being expendable because of the development of a David Onyemata. Now, you have some young guys on the team. You got Malcolm Roach coming into his second season. You got Shai Tuttle going into his third season. You got guys like Tano Passanio, who you signed from the Kansas City Chiefs, who can play both inside as well as outside. And you also have Lorenzo Neal Jr. Some of y'all probably remember his dad, Lorenzo Neal, the famous fullback, played for the Saints and had all those successful years in San Diego. So they got a lot of young guys. But I do feel like there's something that is missing. And I'm hoping that maybe the Saints can possibly sign a seasoned veteran at the interior lineman position. Maybe somebody like a Geno Atkins who's out there right now. He seems like he's doing great. He passed the physical. He's ready to rock and roll. Maybe he can be one of those guys. But the Saints over the last couple of years have not allowed a 100-yard rusher. I think only maybe one time, and that was against the Philadelphia Eagles. So they take a lot of pride in those guys that are up front. And when you have young, unproven guys on the interior line, it can really help. It can really hurt your running game. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Being able to stop the run, being successful at stopping the run. And also these, just exactly what you alluded to, some of these guys on the outside getting to the quarterback. It makes their job a little bit harder. So it's definitely going to hurt. He's out 6 games. He said that he took some banned substance he wasn't aware of. I mean, I don't know how true that is or not, but I think that guys have to be responsible with what they put inside of their bodies. I mean, you have to, especially when being an elite athlete. I mean, your body is your calling card. Is how you pay the bills, right? So it's going to hurt the team, man. You combine that with the Michael Thomas injury, and then of course Marshawn Lattimore. You know, don't know what's going to happen with him. He had that gun charge in the offseason, earlier in the offseason. He's waiting to get a court date. We don't know if he's going to be suspended. So those are 3 quality guys right there that you possibly can be missing for a few games or even an extended amount of time. So I'm not going to lie to you. I'm that as a on the defensive line, that's my main concern. I feel like the Saints can kind of disguise other positions because of Sean Payton's play calling with the wide receivers. And also you have yourself some young guys at the cornerback position. But the interior alignment is just so important, especially playing guys like you all, who I feel like Arthur Smith is going to bring an emphasis to the running game. We've seen what he can do out there in Tennessee. We know he had Derrick Henry out there running wild. You know what he did with their offensive line. You all signed Mike Davis in the offseason coming from the Carolina Panthers, who did a very formidable job in the absence of Christian McCaffrey. Then in Tampa, you got Leonard Fournette, you got Ronald Jones, and then also in Carolina, you still got Christian McCaffrey to deal with. So not having interior linemen that you can count on game in, game out, week in, week out is going to be a very big concern for the New Orleans Saints.
Right. I completely agree. And like I said, hopefully this year with Dean Pease on our defensive side of things, hopefully we can, take something out of you guys' book when it comes to rushing the passer and also stopping the run. When Dan Quinn was here, he loved those smallish defensive linemen and offensive linemen. I don't know why he believed in that. And personally, I believe in being stout up front. Like, I need me some fat boys up front. I need me some guys with hot dogs in the back of their neck. I'm sorry. I just need me some big boys up front. Like I said, on the outside, the Vic Beasleys and the edge rushers, I'm cool with those, guys that's light in the tail.
Right.
But up front, at that nose tackle, I need me some big boys. And I always talk about Grady Jarrett. To me, is more of a 3 technique or a pass rusher. He's not your, typical nose tackle. So I wanted the Falcons to go out and get a guy that was 6, like a David Onyemata. That's 6'5", 320 plus pounds. And we just don't have a ton of those guys.
Right.
We brought over a couple years ago Tyler Davison from the Saints. And I told people it's a reason why the Saints allow him to walk. The Saints are not letting go of their best inside, guys up front. So, we're going to see what we can do.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to touch on really briefly here, because we did bring over Terry Fontenot as our GM over from New Orleans.
Right.
I just want to get your perspective on us bringing him over. Do you think that was a good, a good pickup for the Atlanta Falcons? I believe it is, because he was there to help build you guys' team. I know he wasn't the GM, but he was a scout and he had been there for years, helping build that team and trying to help keep players, there in New Orleans. So what do you feel about Terry Fontenot? I really think he did a masterful job for what he was left to. I mean, Thomas Dimitroff kind of left us in purgatory. Right. So I think he did a good job with bringing in these guys on 1-year deals. But tell me how you feel about Terry Fontenot and a little bit about Terry Fontenot.
Well, I think that nepotism actually played a huge role at some of y'all down years. I mean, Thomas Dimitroff, I think his dad was a GM, if I'm not mistaken, well respected in the league. And of course, you had his son come along, but I just felt like you all held on to him way too long. But back to Terry Fontenot, I think that you all have a good addition. Look, this guy has been with the New Orleans Saints organization for a long time. Man, this guy basically started in the mailroom, worked his way to the executive floor. I mean, a lunch pail type mentality that he had. And also, man, he played such a key role in getting some of these guys, some of these undrafted free agents, because that was his actual job, trying to find those right guys that probably slid through the cracks. He gave you guys, like a Deontay Harris. He's one of those guys that was looking out here, finding some of these undrafted guys like, that the Saints have had, like Onyemata and all those other guys. So he has done an outstanding job finding guys like that. So I think that he's going to pay dividends when it comes to that. And also just the knowledge about how to find talent. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that he went out here and he drafted Kyle Pitts. He wanted that to be to let you all know that he's serious about turning around your organization and getting it back on track to those days where y'all actually, went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. That wasn't that far removed. I mean, and a lot of those guys that were, that played on that in that Super Bowl are still there. So you guys still can get back there. So I have incredible confidence in Terry Fontenot to get you guys turned around, and I'm actually rooting for him, man. I like the brother a lot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, me being a man of color, I know how great this is as an opportunity. So I'm happy for him. So I hope that he has all the success in the world, except when he plays the Saints.
I completely understand, and from so far so good. I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about him from what he's done so far with the Falcons. We'll see how this season pans out, but I believe that he still deserves a couple years to try to get things turned around. Like I said, we basically were left in purgatory due to Thomas Dimitroff. I mean, we didn't have any money to really go out and sign any big name free agents. They basically was talking about cutting or trying to trade Julio because of the cap situation. That's what everybody was making out, when it turned out that Julio just didn't want to be in Atlanta anymore. But everybody at first was basically stating it's the cap reason. They had to get rid of Julio because of the cap situation. So based off of what the cap was looking like, I believe he did a masterful job, not only in the draft, but I think he did a good job of bringing in veteran guys on one-year deals like the Eric Harris's, like the Deron Harmons, the small moves that people are not looking at. I believe he's good at finding diamonds in the rough. So I definitely think he brought in some solid pickups for the Falcons. Like I said, we'll see how it pans out. But like I said, in year one, it's not too much pressure. Like everybody's making it out like this guy's gonna get a 1 year, be one and done. But we all know that he's gonna at least get a couple seasons to try to turn this thing around.
I hope not. I hope not, because I mean, you're gonna hear from me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna be wondering, like, what's the quick leash on the brother? That's what I'm gonna be thinking. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest.
Right. And me too, is me on my channel as well. If he is a one and done situation, which I don't see Arthur Blank doing that. Arthur Blank is a really stand-up owner. And like you said, Arthur Blank usually holds on to guys too long. DQ, he gave, a long leash to. Thomas Dimitroff was here with Mike Smith and with Dan Quinn, and I think he should have left when we got rid of Mike Smith, to be completely honest with you. But we held on to him as well. And Arthur Blank doesn't make those, knee-jerk decisions. He's one of those owners that kind of rides the wave, kind of sits back and just watches. He doesn't say a whole lot like the Jerry Joneses and things of that nature. He just sits back and kind of let, the people that do the football operations, he sits back and let them do their job, like the Rich McKays, of the world. So with that being said, I did see a question earlier here, and it was referring to Brian Poole, who you guys recently signed, and you were talking about our Super Bowl roster. He was one of those guys that I didn't want the Falcons to let go of. He actually played for Dan Quinn at the University of Florida. And I believe Damian Green is a Saints fan. He was asking about him. I think Brian Poole was a great pickup for you guys for the mere fact that he's a solid tackler. When it comes to being physical, that's one thing that I loved about him. He's great at blitzing, and he's great in the slot. You can put him in the slot, and he does a great job in the slot of playing in zone coverage. He's not the best in man coverage. When he was here in Atlanta, that was the reason why they thought he was expendable, because he wasn't good on those quick twitch type wide receivers. But he is a guy that can be used kind of like an extra safety, kind of like a safety in the box, or an extra linebacker, but a smallish linebacker. But he's a guy that I think with the Jets, he proved his worth there in New York. I'm not big on the Pro Football Focus's grades and things of that nature, but he did grade out as one of the best nickel corners in the league. So I definitely think it was a solid signing for you guys, because you guys have struggled in your secondary for years. So I definitely think with you guys losing Jack Rabbit, Janoris Jenkins, that it was huge for you guys to bring in him, who can play that nickel role, and he's versatile. He's a guy that you can use as like a linebacker. He can come down. He's not afraid to tackle, one-on-one with tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. He's one of those guys that is that Swiss Army knife type, secondary player. So I definitely think that he was a gem that you guys recently picked up, and I really like the signing. I actually talked about it. I posted something on Twitter about it, because I definitely think he's one of those guys that was a sneaky signing by you guys.
Right.
Let's see. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and open it up. We're kind of in the Q&A session. We're not going to be on too much longer because I don't want to hold TJ too long tonight. So we're going to be getting off here pretty soon. But as Mad Mike said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button. I'm definitely going to try to get TJ back on the show when the season starts, especially when we face the Saints. I don't believe we face you guys until November, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's the first game between us, which is kind of later in the season. So by then, there should be no excuses. You guys should be healthy. Mike Thomas should be back. But I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup. And I do want to just hit a few more questions if you guys have a few more questions. But we are going to start winding things down a little bit. Because like I said, I don't want to hold our guests. But I appreciate TJ coming on the show. And like I said, we definitely going to have you back on. Like I said, he's all over that Saints talk and NFL talk. If you want someone that's knowledgeable, even if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, definitely go over and hit that like and subscribe button for TJ. He does a lot of live shows. I tune in from time to time, and he hits home, not just on football talk, but in life in general. So definitely tune in to his show.
And, I mean, there are times, I bring like Saints reporters on, but I mean, we've had reporters on it from the national level, man. We've had Steve Weiss from the NFL Network. We had Jim Trotter on the show. Man, we get people. I had Stan Verrett from ESPN on the show. So we have people that are, mainstream media guys, and we talk about other things other than the Saints. We'll cover the NFC South and some of those storylines. So, Steve Weiss, I mean, I think he's an ambassador or something like that for you all. So, I mean, probably going to get him back on the show, talk a little bit more about NFC South football. So, I mean, check it out, man. I mean, we're open to everybody. It's not just Saints fans that check out the State of the Saints podcast. I kind of do the same thing you do, Jew. I answer the questions, and I get questions from all different teams, and that's how we do it. We family oriented over there, and we have a good time.
Same way over here. So I definitely appreciate you joining me tonight. I'm gonna answer like 2 or 3 more questions, and this question I think that we both can answer, TJ. And I won't go ahead and tackle it first. It says, do you think we will be who will be that breakout player people may not be paying attention to on offense? For the Falcons, the guy that everybody needs to be looking out for is Javion Hawkins. He's the guy that we picked up as a free agent signing. He wasn't drafted. They said he had some off the field issues, as you know how that goes. He had some off the field things, and he wasn't drafted because he was a smallish running back. But he puts you in the mind of a Darren Sproles for the Saints fans out there. But he's explosive. I love this kid. I think he's definitely going to make the 53-man roster. If the Falcons don't pick him up on a 53-man roster, which I think he's a lock to make the 53-man roster because of his explosiveness, he puts me in the mind, like I said, of a Darren Sproles type. Cam Akers is who I compared him to when we drafted him for the LA Rams, who recently got hurt, and is out for the season, I think, with a ruptured Achilles.
Wow.
But Cam Akers is one of those guys. Javion Hawkins, that's who he puts me in the mind of. Very explosive, played at Louisville. If you get a chance to, check him out on YouTube, his highlights, TJ, he's one of those guys, really explosive. And I really think he'll be a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. And he's a guy that will put you in the mind of like a Devontae Freeman, who was here with our Atlanta Falcons. He runs the ball strong. Even though he's a small guy, he can run the ball between the tackles better than a lot of people think. And he's a guy that I think that everybody needs to keep an eye out for. Like I said, if the Falcons don't keep him on the 53-man roster, he will be on somebody else's 53-man roster, definitely on somebody's practice squad. But to me, he's a lock to make our roster, unless Arthur Smith and whoever's making that final decision for the 53-man roster make a mistake. He's the guy that I was loving in the draft, who we didn't draft. I was loving because I was like, I wanted the Falcons to pick up a running back in the draft. I was waiting to see that guy, get drafted. We decided not to draft a running back, but then when we brought in the free agent signings, he was one of those rookie free agents that I really, really like. So I definitely think he's a guy that's very, very, very good, very sneaky good. A lot of people don't know about him, but if you watch college football, he's very explosive. And if you look at his highlights, he had numerous plays for 50-yard, 30-yard, 40-yard touchdowns where you just throw him the ball, put him out in space, kind of like y'all Deontay Harris that you guys have, and he can do some things with the football. He's a playmaker. So
Right.
I kind of want to know on the Saints side of the spectrum, who's a guy that we may not know. He's not a household name yet, but you think that he may make you fit, make you guys 53-man roster.
I'm sorry, man. I just looked at the chat. I see the chat conversation from your wife in the background. But anyway, look. Okay. The player that I'm looking out for is Keith Washington, the second, man. He's a second-year cornerback out of West Virginia. I was fortunate enough to have him on the show a couple of days ago. He's a guy. At training camp last season, man, he had like 6 interceptions. Like, he was a guy that was possibly could have been on a chopping block. He had to really bring together a couple really good reps at training camp. I mean, he mustered together like a really good, solid training camp, man. He about 6'1". He was a little bit on the smaller side. He was about 170, 180 last season. He put on a little bit of weight. I'm excited to see what he can actually do. I like his wingspan. I like his footwork has improved. I like his hips, getting out of, being right there with those wide receivers. So I'm interested to see what he can actually do, man, because, I'm rooting for the guy. I mean, he's a really good, solid player. He plays with a lot of confidence. And I think that Saints fans need to be on the lookout for him, as well as Falcon fans, because it wouldn't surprise me at all if Keith Washington II actually sees the field this season, especially since the Saints are very thin at the cornerback position.
Okay, most definitely. Well, we're gonna wrap things up. Like I said, I see the boss in the back telling me
right. That's why I was laughing.
Wrap it up.
That's why I was laughing.
The boss has spoken. So we're gonna get ready to wrap things up.
I ain't the boss, but I wanted to come on and Debo Jew show a bit. Hey, TJay, Mad Mike from Atlanta Falcon Nation, Mad Mike Sports. We want to welcome you and invite you to Heavy Hitters this season. It's November, but we want to have you on to kind of give you, kind of preview the game as far as like, what you guys have to do, to win the game. We kind of do like 3 keys to victories and whatnot, to get people ready for the game. But like, we want to invite you to the Heavy Hitter show. Is going to be myself, Jew, and Just K Styles. He should be watching the show. But man, look, man, keep doing your thing. We definitely admire what you're doing, but it's still screw the Saints.
I mean, look, I said it, man, before. Like, I don't expect to like come on any other rival teams podcast and not expect for the fans to not have that type of enthusiasm, man. I'm just happy to be here, man. Jew, I did a podcast with him like a couple months back, and he's just a solid brother, man. I like shows, podcasters out there that keep it real with their fans. I like how people, are authentic and real. I don't think that you can fake that. And I think that when you do stuff like that, people have no choice but to feel you, man. So shouts out to you. I would love to come on, man. Feel free to, inbox me, hit me up on Twitter at State of Saints. Feel free, man. I would love to be on, man. I would love to get you all on the State of Saints podcast, man, and talk more about the Falcons, and also when some of those games come around, would love to have you on.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you, bro.
Well, with that being said, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to plug really quick, TJay, but I really appreciate you coming on. I seen a couple people in the comment section was asking the name of your YouTube channel. It's the State of the Saints podcast. If you guys want to check them out, my wife actually dropped the link in the chat for you guys earlier. We'll have it also after the video. We'll have it down and below where you guys can go ahead and just click and go ahead and hit that subscribe button there. But you guys definitely check them out. And like Mad Mike said, we definitely going to have them back on when the season start. You guys know how rivalry week gets. It gets real crazy. Like I said, like Mike said, I'm the nice one over here, but at the end of the day, like I said, we call them ain'ts over here. Look, I try to put some respect on y'all name because y'all have been running the NFC South for the last 4 years plus. But at the end of the day, it's
he's just keeping it real, man. Look, just keeping it real.
Hey, but it's time.
It ain't amounting to what we want, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We winning it. You know?
You got it. Look, right now y'all got bragging rights, but hey, look,
in a regular season, not the pro season.
Look, they go to the 1/3 of the heavy hitters right there trying to join the.
Here he go. Here he go.
Yeah, how you doing? How you doing,
Just
man?
K Styles, man. Just K Styles, man.
Man, hey, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you, brother.
Cat got your tone, man. Cat got your tone. What's
Hey,
going
he
on?
got the whole heavy hitters on him with him now. hey, but I'll say, TJ, like I said, I check your stuff out. No, like I said, it's all respect around here, man. But yeah. We coming for that ass. but for real, this is a good show by both of y'all, man. Like I said, I get a thumbs up. Thumbs up, damn it.
I appreciate that, man. I'm glad to be here, man. Real talk. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, with that being said, look, you guys hit that like, subscribe button. Jew Talk Sports. Hey, I'm on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Atlanta Falcons Nation. We on the road to 2,000 as well. Just K Styles, Mad Mike Sports, and TJ Jones. We thank you for being our guest this evening. Y'all go over the State of Saints podcast, hit that like, subscribe button. But with that being said, y'all ain't got to go home. But what we say, Mike?
You got to get the hell up out of here.
All right, y'all, man. We'll see y'all next week, 7 o'clock. What's the word, Dirty Bird? Hey, look, we right around the corner for some football. We just started training camp right around the corner from the preseason. With that being said, peace.
For what?